Well, people in the Eastern Cape have been left stunned by a fire that's destroyed the Botha Sigcau building that housed several government departments in the last 24 hours. The fire was reported around this time last night, and this morning there were still sections that were still on fire. Let's talk more about why this was such an important building to the community of Mthatha. Bring into the conversation political analyst and Walter Sisulu University lecturer Mbasa Mvenene to speak about this. Mbasa, welcome to SABC News. We appreciate your time. So I had been looking from last night at reactions from friends and other people on social media who are from Mthatha, and what was clear from their reactions to the fire at the Botha Sigcau building was that it really was more than just a structure to them. Speak to us about its history and why it was such an important building.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, and greetings to everyone at home. So, well, importantly, the Botha Sigcau building was named after the first so-called independence president in the Transkei in 1976, who's Botha Sigcau. And so that building was the state capital building, and it was used by that regime to house several government departments, which it is still used for that purpose to this day. So for people, it also holds institutional memory, which could have been destroyed by these flames that we've witnessed yesterday and today.
And given that significance, how do you contextualize or explain why so many people in present-day Mthatha personally felt gutted at seeing it go up in flames last night?
Well, I think it's because of the loss of, for instance, archival documents or primary sources that include, for instance, internal government communications stretching from the colonial period to apartheid to 63 when Transkei became a self-governing state to 76 and so on. And so there is a lot of institutional memory that has been lost or could have been lost if any, or if those records are not digitally stored. So it has that significance for the people, not only in Mthatha, but the people of the former Transkei in the Eastern Cape.
What you're talking about also raises the question, right, about how well we do as South Africans, as a country, in preserving and taking care of pieces of our history and heritage. In this instance, was this a building that was well taken care of? Because I had seen in the last few hours people suggesting that, in fact, at some point there was concern that it simply was not fit to be inhabited or occupied by people.
Yes, definitely, I would agree, because in the previous year I had entered the building myself and I found it to be extremely dilapidated. I mean, some floors had mold, the lifts were not working, there were exposed electrical wiring hanging in the corridors. In fact, some floors in the building were non-operational. And so, of course, the building state was really, really in poor condition.
And what does that level of neglect, if I can use that word, where does that then leave the quest, indeed, to be able to preserve its historic significance, to be able to pass that information on to people who are my age and your age and those who come after us, to know why, for instance, it was named after Botha Sigcau?
Okay, so what I think there, it indicates clearly that there is a dereliction of duty, and I think perhaps the public sector in its entirety is not really moving with the times. Today we live in a digital age, and I think that all records within government should be digitally stored at this point in time, so we may have access to these documents and archival material. So, like as you have said, it can be passed on to those who come after us. But I think there's been a failure in terms of fire regulations within this particular building. As I've stated, it's a dilapidated state. So, for instance, we didn't see a fire suppression system which would have been able to mitigate the flames from burning almost more than 85% of the building.
And for the government of the present day, the pressure now will be on ensuring that there is no disruption to the services that would have been rendered from out of Botha Sigcau. Is there a plan in place to ensure that there isn't a disruption?
Well, from my understanding, as of current, I don't believe that there is a plan in place. But the employees there were informed that there would be a meeting, I believe, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., where they will then discuss how they move forward and how they continue to fulfill their state functions for the region and the province.
Mbasa Mvenene, good to have you on The Full View on SABC News. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.